For those of us who chose to publish our first book by ourselves and to not go through a traditional publisher, the world of publishing can seem very confusing. There's a lot of words and phrases that we just aren't familiar with, nor are we experts in. But in this video, I'm going to give you 5 words that you need to be aware of along your self-publishing journey to make sure that you are very knowledgeable about the process and you're not getting scammed along the way. So let's dive into it. The first word that every self-published author needs to know is copyright. Now, copyright is the legal ownership of your work. Essentially, you have copyright from the moment you write down your idea and you come up with it. But I want to say that you have copyright in a very loose term because I want to encourage you to get a legal documentation that verifies that you have copyright. Now, please trust me when I say this. Like I always tell you all, not only am I your new favorite children's book author, but I'm also a librarian. So having conversations around copyright, copyright infringement, what is fair use, all of these things are conversations that I have very regularly at my job outside of this channel and what I do as an author. So like I said, technically you have copyright without having to get a legal documentation to prove it. I prefer it in cases where people write down their ideas, that they include a date or there's some kind of like timestamp there because it makes that argument really helpful. But you don't essentially need to have a legal documentation there. However, it is very helpful if you do. Essentially, having that legal documentation to verify that you have copyright not only allows you to have a record that says that this is my idea, but allows you to have a public record that anyone can see so that you can make sure that you have documentation that you are the owner and creator of an idea. And if someone were to steal your idea or misrepresent your idea, you have that legal documentation there so that you can take legal action to protect the hard work that you've created. So again, you automatically have copyright of your work. But having that legal documentation there is really important to truly make sure that your work is protected. That is the benefit of having copyright, and that's why I encourage everyone to have that formal documentation there. From people in the United States, that means going to the US Copyright Office to get your documentation. It is a very simple process, and I'll put it somewhere on the screen like how much money it costs for you to get copyright. It is not super expensive, and I bring that up because scams do exist. A lot of people will try to tell you that copyright is upwards of thousands of dollars and they need to do it for you. You do not need a third-party person to do copyright for you if you are self-publishing. You can do it for yourself. It is very affordable. It's a simple application and it's a one-time process that you have to go through the United States Copyright Office. So I encourage you to get that copyright and to avoid being scammed. Please avoid being scammed when it comes to your copyright because your work needs that protection, but I don't want your wallet to hurt because someone has scammed you out of your money. The second word I want you to be aware of as a self-published author is your ISBN. Basically, that is your International Standard Book Number. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, trust me, please trust me. You have seen an ISBN before in your life. If you've ever read a book, an ISBN is usually on the back of it, on top of the barcode. So it's usually the 13-digit code that you see at the top of it. It says ISBN followed by a 13-digit number. Think of this like your book's social security number. It's so that people like me, who are librarians or bookstore owners, who are looking up books to purchase for their spaces, know what book is available to them. This is really important because, like we talked about with copyright, you can copyright the inside of your book in terms of the actual story, but not so much the name. That's more of a trademarking conversation that's a little bit harder to do for books. So for example, there could be 20 books with the title Dream Street, but I may specifically want the book of Dream Street that's written by Trisha Walker in my library specifically. So being able to have the ISBN number is a way that I can identify the book and make sure that I'm not just purchasing any book called Dream Street, but specifically the one that I want to have for my library. And like I said, every book has a barcode with the ISBN right above it. So your book definitely needs to have an ISBN. But please make sure that you're not getting scammed along this journey either, because there are a lot of websites that will try to mislead you along the way, but there's only one website that you can actually get an ISBN from. And I personally am always a big supporter of self-published authors owning their own ISBN. And so if you want me to do a video walking through the process of how to get an ISBN and why it's so important that you have an ISBN, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, because it's something that I really think is important for you to do. But essentially, it's important that you don't get scammed and you don't go to the wrong website, because getting an ISBN is a little costly. It is an investment though in your book, so that way you can have that ownership and control of your book in terms of distribution, where you can sell the book essentially. And so as you're thinking about where you want to sell your book, for example, I sell my book on my own website, on Amazon, Ingram Spark, Barnes & Noble, in a lot of different places, because I own my own ISBN, so I have that control over where my book is distributed. But there are some platforms that will offer you a free ISBN. It's important to be mindful of those, because those ISBNs are free. I won't take that away from them. But that means that if they're offering you a free ISBN, if you read those terms and conditions a little bit closer, you can see that that means that they will be owning the distribution rights to your own book. So for example, Amazon KDP, a great platform to use to self-publish your own book because it has worldwide distribution. But they also offer a free ISBN option when you're uploading your book there to be sold. It's important to really consider if you want to use their ISBN, because that means that Amazon is now in control of distributing your book, which means that you can no longer go sell it on another platform like Ingram Spark or Barnes & Noble Press or Lulu or anywhere else that you want to sell it, because Amazon has the ownership of your title to distribute it on their own, because they own the ISBN instead of you, which is why I'm always in support of self-published authors owning their own ISBN and having full control. But I understand that everyone has different journeys of their self-publishing life, and people may not want to have 100% control and have to do a lot more work in the process. But no matter what, your book is going to need a ISBN number. Your book needs a social security number. So be mindful about how you're going to get it and how much control you want to relinquish to someone else along the way. The third word that I want every self-published author to be aware of is your proof copy. What is that? As you're getting along the journey, before you formally print and start publishing multiple copies of your book, because you're so eager for people to have a physical copy of your book in their hand, you need to get a proof copy. That is basically the copy that you get to test out how it looks before you send it to mass production scale, right? So even if you're just uploading it onto Amazon, Amazon will say, hey, do you want a proof copy? You know, before you go to, if you go to a third party publisher like I did, they'll give you a proof copy. Please don't skip this step. A lot of people I've seen in the self-publishing world are so eager to get their book out because maybe they already have their book launch scheduled, or they're just rushing through it and just want to be done with the process, which I also understand it can be really draining. But you need to account for having time to look at a proof copy, because when you're looking through that copy, you can say if there are any typos, any formatting issues, if the color is a little bit off in the cover or the illustrations, and anything like that. It's super crucial that you look at this test copy of your book to see how it's going to look for the consumer to get it. You can't skip this step. It's very important. I know when I first got my proof copy for my book, I noticed that the color saturation was completely off. It was very dull. And there also were random pages added in that I did not put into the book. And so it's important to do this step so you can send it back and say, hey, there were mistakes, and get those mistakes fixed. You may also see that the page margins may be a little bit different. So many things could be wrong, even though you know for a fact that you may have uploaded the perfect version of your manuscript to be printed. Printers make mistakes. And it's important that you catch the mistake as the author before your consumer catches that mistake. And then you get a bad reputation out there in the publishing world in terms of people thinking your books are not formatted correctly and don't look nice. So always get your proof copies, schedule it into your timeline, even if that means you may have to push back your book launch that you already have scheduled. It's important that you make sure that your books are ready to be sold and they look at the highest quality they can possibly look. But you can only verify that if you get a proof copy first. The fourth word that I want you to be aware of is trim size. Now, this is a conversation really for my self-published authors who are doing picture books or maybe even workshops and journals. For my people that are just doing regular chapter books, the trim size is pretty formulaic. You want to make sure that you're using the same size as everyone else. And that's across the board advice that I give to any self-published author. Be creative in your idea and your thoughts that you're putting into the book, but the actual book on the outside needs to look like every other book that's on the bookshelf. Because what you don't want to happen is someone look at your book and someone else's book, and they could easily tell which one is self-published and which one is traditionally published. So there's a time and a place for creativity, and when it comes to the trim sizes, this is not the time nor the place. Because when you're talking about trim sizes, that's really just the layout of your book, how it looks. And that can affect things like your printing costs, that can affect where your book can be sold, because not every printer can do every trim size. And so taking those things into consideration as you're designing your book and thinking about the experience you want to provide to your readers is really crucial, so that way you're not spending more money on the back end later. I'm saying this from experience. When I did my first children's book, I didn't even think about trim size. I was just focused on getting my illustrations done, getting my story done, and I was just gonna upload it to wherever I wanted to upload it. Because again, I owned my ISBN. But I found out when I went to upload it that Ingram Spark took the layout of my book, but Amazon didn't, which meant that I then had to go back to my illustrator, pay more money to get it within a trim size that was acceptable for both of those retailers, which once again cost me more money and cost me more time. Instead, if I just thought about it early on in the process before I even went to my illustrator, we could have had that solved very early on. But instead, I wasted a lot of my time and energy that I'm trying to save for you. So be sure to think about your trim size, about how you want your book to look. And especially for my people, like I said, who are doing more picture books or even workbooks or journals and different things, I want you to consider not just what size other distributors are actually able to print for you, but also consider the experience you want your readers to have. For a chapter book, it's pretty straightforward. Like, they're just opening the book like this and they're moving on. But for picture books, for example, I like to consider the experience that I want my readers to have, especially for picture books, because when you think about it, it's usually being read aloud to a kid. So I think about what it would be like for me to do a read aloud, for example. So if I wanted to read Dream Street to a group of kids, I'd like to think about how I want my book to be opened and how they would feel holding the book open and reading it to kids. Would they feel comfortable like this with a book that is more so, what is this? This is vertical. This is horizontal. A book that's more vertical, right? How would it feel for them to open up a book and then flip through pages as they're reading the story to kids? That's what I think about. How does it feel to do it that way versus having a book that's more horizontal? We just learned that, right? And how it feels different, right? Like, I have to hold the book different. I'm sure you can't even see me holding the book in the camera, pretty sure. But it feels different, right? And that also means the illustrations look different because you have more space this way. So just being really mindful of that as a picture book author, it was important for me to consider how I wanted my readers to feel or hold the book during their reading experience. But for your more chapter books, traditional things, trim sizes are pretty straightforward, but still just keep that in mind and not let that be the last thing you think about, because it will cost you money if you did not pick the right trim size. The last word that I feel like every self-published author needs to know is print on demand. Essentially, this is how self-publishing became so accessible to people worldwide. Basically, when you're doing print on demand, that means that the publisher that you're using or the printing house that you're using is printing that book based off of if people are ordering it, which essentially means that there is no backlog or storage of your book being anywhere. So I don't know if that may hurt your ego or not, but think of it like this. I have two children's books out in the world right now, Precious Love and He's Mine. There is not a warehouse full of books. At my house there is, because I do my own self-publishing and I send it out through my own website. But if you order my book, say from Amazon, Amazon has a print on demand feature. That basically means that Amazon is not holding multiple copies of Precious Love or He's Mine, even though I think it's a pretty great book. But instead, it means that when someone orders it on their website, Then it goes into production at Amazon, where they print the book, package the book, and they ship it off to someone else. Again, this is how self-publishing became so accessible to people worldwide, because there was no need to have a large warehouse to store things. It was easier to get books out into the world, and so on and so forth. And that's essentially how a lot of these places do their printing now. Ingram Spark, Amazon KDP, Lulu, Barnes & Noble, all the places we've been talking about during this video, most of them have a print on demand feature, which isn't bad to have. Again, you don't have to worry about storage and having too much of a supply if the demand isn't there for that season. So if you hear print on demand, that's essentially what it means. Your book is printed when someone orders it. But I also want you to know what print demand does not mean. Print on demand is not a marketing plan. It is not a publishing plan. You just uploading your book to a website and waiting for someone to click it doesn't mean you're gonna generate a lot of sales. You still need to do the work of marketing your book, telling people you have a book, doing a book launch, and all those great things. While it's great to just have your book on a website so that people can find it organically, there is a lot of work that needs to be done on the back end so that people know, one, your book is there in the first place, and two, that the book is right for them. So being mindful of that as well is really important along the way. But those are just my top 5 words that I feel like every self-published author needs to know. You need to know about copyright. You need to know about your ISBN. You need to know about getting your proof copy, trim sizes, and printing on demand. Those 5 words should be able to help you along your publishing journey. But again, feel free to let me know in the comments if there's any words that you want me to dive deeper into, or any other words that you may have heard along your author's journey that you want a little bit of clarification of what the heck does that even mean. That's exactly what I'm here to do here at The Author's Heartbeat, because every author's story is worth sharing, especially yours. And I'm so excited to help you along the way.